Ellen Corby's life was one of quiet brilliance, strength, and deep emotion. But behind her calm, grandmotherly smile was a complicated relationship that few ever truly understood. The world knew her as Grandma Walton, the heart and soul of one of America's most beloved television families. But off-camera, Ellen Corby's bond with her co-star, Will Geer, who played Grandpa Walton, was far from simple. Their connection was fierce, emotional, and at times painfully strained. Some say Ellen loved and hated him in equal measure, a mix of admiration, conflict, and unspoken emotion that lasted until their final days together. Ellen Hanson Corby was born on June 3, 1911, in the small town of Racine, Wisconsin, and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She wasn't born into fame or fortune. Her early years were ordinary, grounded in a modest family that valued hard work and humility. But Ellen had something special, a spark that came alive when she discovered the world of storytelling. From a young age, she spent hours watching plays, reading books, and studying the faces of people around her. She had a natural curiosity about human emotion, what made people laugh, cry, and dream. That sensitivity became her compass, guiding her toward the world of acting long before she even realized it herself. After finishing high school, Ellen moved to California, chasing not stardom but opportunity. In the early 1930s, she found work behind the camera as a script girl and continuity clerk in Hollywood. It was a humble job, but she loved it. Every day on set taught her something new about the rhythm of filmmaking, how a story moved, how emotion flowed through dialogue and silence. Watching actors perform, she began to imagine herself in their place. Ellen studied everything: lighting, camera angles, line delivery, and slowly built the foundation for what would become one of the most respected acting careers in television history. By the mid-1930s, Ellen began stepping in front of the camera, often appearing in small, uncredited roles. Her appearance was distinctive, petite, sharp-eyed, and expressive. She didn't need to shout or demand attention. Her presence was enough. She quickly earned a reputation for reliability and emotional depth. Casting directors trusted her to elevate even the smallest scene. Over the years, she appeared in dozens of Hollywood films. It's a Wonderful Life, Little Women, Shane, Sabrina, each role adding another layer to her growing artistry. But her breakthrough came in 1948 with I Remember Mama, where she played Aunt Trina, a quiet, tender woman struggling to find her place. Her performance was subtle yet unforgettable. It earned her an Academy Award nomination and a Golden Globe, recognition that solidified her as one of the finest supporting actresses in the industry. Despite the growing acclaim, Ellen never chased celebrity. Fame, for her, was a byproduct, not the goal. What mattered was truth. She believed that acting wasn't about pretending to be someone else. It was about understanding humanity in all its contradictions. Her characters, mothers, aunts, teachers, neighbors, always felt real because she infused them with compassion, pain, and dignity. She wasn't the kind of actress who stole the spotlight. Instead, she gave life to the corners of a story that others overlooked. By the 1950s and 1960s, Ellen had become a familiar face on American television. She appeared in The Twilight Zone, Bonanza, The Andy Griffith Show, Perry Mason, and The Beverly Hillbillies. Audiences may not have always remembered her name, but they remembered her presence, the way she could deliver a single line with both warmth and quiet authority. Her versatility made her a favorite among directors. She could be stern or soft, humorous or heartbreaking, sometimes all within the same scene. But as her career continued, Ellen began yearning for something more, a role that wasn't just another character, but an extension of her soul. That role came in 1972, when Ellen was cast as Grandma Esther Walton in The Waltons. Set during the Great Depression, the series told the story of a large, loving Virginia family struggling through hard times. For Ellen, the role was a perfect fit. She brought to Grandma Walton the same honesty and strength she'd carried her whole life. Her portrayal was deeply human, not idealized, not exaggerated, but real. Viewers saw their own grandmothers in her, wise, tough, gentle, and occasionally stubborn. She became the emotional anchor of the Walton family. But while audiences adored her, what they didn't see was the complex dynamic developing behind the scenes between Ellen and her co-star, Will Geer. On screen, they were America's grandparents, a couple full of humor, affection, and old-fashioned love. Off-screen, their relationship was far more turbulent. Will Geer was a larger-than-life figure, loud, political, passionate, and unafraid to challenge anyone. Ellen, on the other hand, was disciplined, private, and deeply spiritual. The two often clashed, both strong-willed and fiercely opinionated. She found his unpredictability infuriating, while he saw her perfectionism as rigid. Yet beneath the frustration was a powerful mutual respect. Those who worked on the Waltons said their arguments were legendary, sometimes heated, sometimes playful, but always rooted in deep emotion. Ellen would scold Will for going off script or breaking character with a joke, and Will would tease her relentlessly just to see her reaction. There were days she refused to speak to him after a particularly intense disagreement, and other days when she couldn't stop laughing at his antics. In truth, their relationship mirrored that of the characters they played, Grandma and Grandpa Walton, full of love, irritation, and an unspoken bond that neither could deny. Ellen often told friends that Will drove her crazy, yet when he wasn't around, the set didn't feel the same. Ellen's dedication to her craft was unmatched. She approached every scene with care, always searching for authenticity. Will admired that about her, even when they butted heads. He once said that Ellen brought truth to every line. But Ellen, in her quiet way, admitted that Will's energy, though exhausting, kept her performances alive. They were opposites, and somehow that made their chemistry magic. Yet as much as she respected him, Ellen also confessed to close friends that she hated how easily he could break her calm. It wasn't hatred in the cruel sense. It was the kind born from deep emotional entanglement. She hated how much he mattered to her, how much his approval or disapproval could affect her mood. Then, in 1976, tragedy struck. Ellen suffered a severe stroke that left her partially paralyzed and unable to speak. The woman who had built a lifetime of expression suddenly found herself trapped in silence. Doctors weren't sure if she'd ever recover. The Waltons' cast and crew were devastated, and none more so than Will. He visited her often, reading to her, holding her hand and gently teasing her, the same way he always had on set. For Ellen, the recovery was grueling. It took immense courage, but she refused to give up. Slowly, she relearned how to walk, speak, and eventually act again. When Ellen returned to the Waltons, the writers incorporated her real-life struggle into Grandma Walton's storyline. Viewers watched as Grandma recovered on screen, mirroring Ellen's own journey. It was one of television's most emotional moments, the line between fiction and reality disappearing completely. Audiences wept, not just for the character, but for the woman who had fought so hard to come back. Ellen's resilience became a symbol of strength, both for fans and for her castmates. Will Geer was by her side through much of that time, and though Ellen often told people she hated his stubbornness, she also admitted she couldn't have made it without his support. Their friendship deepened in those later years, marked less by conflict and more by quiet understanding. They had become like an old married couple, bickering, teasing, but forever bound by affection and respect. When Will Geer passed away in 1978, Ellen was heartbroken. On set, she kept his chair empty, refusing to let anyone else sit in it. She would sometimes pause during filming, look at that chair, and whisper something only she could hear. The loss of Will was more than the loss of a co-star. It was the loss of a piece of herself, the one person who had truly challenged, infuriated, and inspired her. After Will's death, Ellen continued with the Waltons for several years, but those who knew her best said she was never quite the same. The spark in her eyes dimmed a little. She often spoke about him as if he were still around, saying things like, "Will would have done it this way." Though she once said she hated him more than anyone, what she really meant was that no one had ever gotten under her skin or into her heart the way he had. It was a relationship defined by conflict but rooted in love, the kind that only two strong souls could share. Away from the cameras, Ellen lived a quiet, simple life. She was deeply spiritual, often spending time meditating, gardening, and writing in her journals. She stayed close with the Waltons cast, who saw her as both a mother figure and a mentor. She continued to act occasionally, appearing in Waltons specials and other television projects, but she preferred peace over fame. Even as her health declined, she never lost her gentle humor or her deep gratitude for the life she'd lived. Ellen Corby passed away in 1999 at the age of 87. In the years since, fans have remembered her not only as Grandma Walton, but as a symbol of resilience, grace, and authenticity. Her legacy isn't defined by fame or awards, but by the humanity she brought to every role. And though her relationship with Will Geer was often fiery and difficult, it was also the most real connection of her career, one built on mutual respect, artistic chemistry, and the kind of love that hides behind frustration. In truth, Ellen Corby didn't hate Will Geer. Not really. What she hated was how deeply he made her feel, how much his energy disrupted her careful calm, how much his laughter lingered long after he was gone. Their bond, with all its friction and affection, became the beating heart of the Waltons. It was the imperfect, beautiful truth of two people who never stopped challenging each other on screen and off, and through that, they created something timeless, a portrait of love that was far too real to ever be easy.